Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny, and welcome back to another edition of the Yak with Mac, but also with Mac. I've got just a terrific special guest, and so I'm going to get to him in just one second. But, leaders, by the time you see this, this is probably the first episode that we have in 2021, and what a terrific way we have to kick it off. So, a couple of quick reminders 2021, you got to go to Leader Ready. I mean, just plain and simple, you've got to go to Leader Ready. If you're not already scheduled, make sure you're scheduling yourself out. The second reminder, at least 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day for you to develop yourself. Whether you watch a podcast like this, you read an article, something that you're doing that's going to develop you to become a better leader every single day. This is the place to be, right? This is the place where we want to encourage and inspire you to be fantastic leaders, to be great influencers. In 2021, we hope you're walking into it with some really high hopes. So we've got, as we heard Liz talk about last week, there are some phenomenal programs and resources that are getting ready to launch for leaders. And we've got one of the guys who is behind the scenes, but not only is he behind the scenes, he's a great leader in his own right. Folks, I want to introduce to you Patrick McDaniels, Senior Program Manager, is here in the house. Hey, Patrick.
Woo! Yeah! Finally, the write-in campaign, it paid off for all my
absolutely. Yeah,
all my fans out there. Yeah. So thank you for the introduction. Now on the call, do I refer to you as Kenny or Mac? I feel like it's got to be Mac because this is the Yak with Mac.
You could call me Mac. That's awesome, man. People call me Mac.
We're gonna go with Mac.
Okay.
We're going with Mick. We're just gonna mispronounce it the whole time just to annoy you.
There you go.
No, thrilled. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Big fan. Okay, I want to start out with something not related, but then we'll get to the leader stuff. I promise.
Okay.
Sort of related. I listened to the last show with my friend Liz Tarabokia on it. Wonderful individual, great call, great show.
Thank you.
One thing stuck in my craw. I don't want to pick a fight or anything. I'm not trying to start out there. You wrapped that call by saying, "What a great way to end 2020, and a lot of really great stuff coming in 2021."
Yes.
Now, I'm looking at my calendar. It's still 2020, which means you've painted yourself into a bit of a corner. You've got one of two outs, and then we'll get to the actual stuff. You got one of two outs. One, you can say, we had a really great call with Liz, and we thought that, but wait, there's more, thus taking a little bit of wind out of Liz's sails.
There you go.
Or you can go, you lean into it and you say, I said what a great way to end 2020, and we got more great stuff coming in 2021, but smack down in the middle, we're going to disappoint you with Patrick. Now, I don't want to tell you which way to go. You play it any way you want. I'd take the wind out of my sails. I think I need it. But long story short, thrilled to be here and really thankful for this opportunity.
Yeah, no, awesome, Patrick. Thank you so much for coming on. So I think everyone would love to hear what your career journey has been like. So tell us what your career journey has been like and what got you to this point in T-Mobile.
Sure. I have been with T-Mobile for about 12 and a half years now. I started as a part-time, it would be a mobile expert back then. It was just sales associate. And originally I came from big box retail. I worked for a big box retailer. I won't name the retailer, but I wore a polo of a certain color. And my job at the big box retailer was not sales at all. I had no sales experience. My job was I worked in the warehouse. And if somebody bought like a new refrigerator, they would call somebody from the warehouse who would go and they would pick this box off of the shelf, take it to somebody's car, load it into somebody's car, which of course, Mac, you're looking at me. You're like, of course, it's that guy, the Adonis in front of you.
Yes.
That's the guy you want loading giant appliances into people's pickups. Of course, I know you. I'm just saying with words the things you're thinking up there. So that was what I did. It didn't pay a lot, to say the least. Like, I made enough money to either decide to have food in my belly or a roof over my head. I'm not being sarcastic in that.
Yeah.
And so I ate, and I lived on my dad's fishing boat, which is made me very smelly. I did not have a home address for a while, and something that had to change. I had a friend who came over to T-Mobile herself, and I kind of talked to her, and I said, "How is it? I've never done sales before." And long story short, I ended up getting a job as a part-time rep about 2 towns up from me. Which the funny thing about that was, again, I wasn't making enough money. I didn't have enough money to have a car, so I had to bus to the job every day. And so, and 2 towns over, but when you factor in transfers and waits and like switching from it was a 3-hour trip each way for
Wow.
a part-time job at T-Mobile, and I still came out ahead.
Wow.
And I wasn't looking for a career. I was just looking for something that paid a little bit more. And over time, I kind of then got full time, and then I got a role that was it's called a retail sales lead. Like, it was before a RAM. You'd career path into an associate manager. And while I was a retail sales lead, still not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, my store was asked to participate in a pilot that had some training associated with it. I went over to headquarters. I sat down in this room, and a man walked into the room, and within 5 minutes, I knew what I wanted to do. I saw this guy start facilitating, and I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. And so I asked if I could do a ride along with them. That parlayed into some stretch assignments with training teams, some work in training videos, because of course.
Yeah.
And then eventually getting into the training space. Initially, I was a area sales trainer supporting what was called the Greater Philadelphia Tri-State area. Lived in Philly for a spell, supported Pennsylvania, Delaware, Jersey, New York area.
Wow.
And then came back to the Pacific Northwest, where I supported the PNW as the area sales trainer for a time before getting into the career love of my life, which is program management, where I've been now for the last 5 years.
Wow. Man, that is quite a journey. I had no idea that you were right here in my backyard in New York, huh?
Yeah, man. New York. Wow. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so what, you said you caught the bug. What was it that drew you to want to be a trainer or get into training?
Yeah, it's something my wife and I have talked about some, where when you think about career pathing, or you think about what you want to do for a living, often we think of it very linearly. Very like, well, I want to do this to get to this, to get to this, to get to this, which is fair and valid. That is a route a lot of people can take. But one thing my wife and I talked about was maybe flip the script, especially when I was loose and kind of twisting the wind. And she goes, think about things that you love to do, and then go find a way to get paid to do it. And I didn't even know this idea of training was on the table, but I've had some experience in public speaking. I studied broadcasting in college, and I love doing that kind of stuff. I love the T-Mobile culture, and certainly did as well. But when this guy walked in the room, I had this whole like Damascus moment, if you will, right? I had this moment where I realized that that's how I can get paid to do the thing that I love to do. It was just this phenomenal moment of clarity in my life where I was like, training is, I caught that bug, which maybe in 2020, we shouldn't be talking about catching bugs. I hear it, but
Yeah. But I think that's so inspiring. I love what you said there, and how it doesn't have to be, okay, I'm an associate manager, I'm going to be a store manager, I'm going to be a DM. That you can, and not to say that you wouldn't love that, but you took a different path, which I think is just outstanding. That's so inspiring. And I think folks watching now are probably saying, man, I wish I would have had him as a trainer. I wish I would have been in his class.
No, they're not.
I'm sure they are. Well, that's very inspiring. It's an inspiring story, especially, staying on the fish boat for a spell and going from there to the corporate headquarters. So let's transition a little bit. You're working on what I think, from what I saw and what I've studied, just going to be an outstanding game changer for leaders. So I want to give you plenty of time to really talk about that and really talk about what you're expecting. What are some of the impacts that you're expecting for this to have on our leaders? So talk to us about what you're working on.
Sure, I know Liz stole a little bit of my thunder last week.
Yes.
She hinted at it some.
Yes.
But we're working on, and the program that I most closely work with is called the Leadership Excellence and Development Program, or LEAD. And what LEAD is actually it's a suite of programs under that LEAD umbrella. 5 programs in total, which are taking the concept of sort of top talent training, if you will, or hypo development, and bringing it all in-house here into consumer markets and field sales. A program that was historically run sort of at an enterprise level with some of the other options. We had like things like Career Advantage and Next Level and some of those other excellent top talent programs. Well, we're now taking it and throwing our own field sales spin on it and really creating programs that support not only this concept of top talent and career progression, but that's very specific and relevant to the realities of employees in the front line. Something that we weren't able to do quite as much when there were programs that were for both frontline and HQ employees, because those are two very different worlds. To be able to talk about and assess and define and develop top talent, whether they're sitting in a cubicle versus sitting in a store in front of a customer, two very different environments and two very different realities. And so the ability to build those programs, to own them, to program manage them, to design them, and to deliver them through Liz's excellent team, all in-house, is, to your point, it's a game changer. And we're really thrilled to be able to bring these 5 programs to life.
Yeah, that is awesome. So what are some of the impacts that you're expecting? And part 2 of that question is, if I'm a leader, store manager right now, what's some of my next steps to really take advantage of all these great resources that you're working on?
Yeah, so I think the main impact that I can see through these programs is truly creating a series of programs that can support not only the employee's development from a new lens, but also support the needs of the front line even more closely than we could in the past. We're opening these programs up in ways that aspirationally will be able to support bench strength needs or hiring forecasting to really be able to keep that bench built so we can have a fleet of top talent ready to go and ready to slot in when and if they are needed. That is something we were never able to get that close to at an organizational level. At a personal level, though, for all the individuals who might be the thousands who are listening on this podcast and watching on this podcast, I believe there's thousands of people. It's just up here. On a personal level, we're creating top talent programs a little bit differently. We're creating top talent programs that are focused on competencies, not tasks. Right. It's one thing to have a series of top talent programs that's like, here's some new tasks or time management. So, oh, you want to be a RAM? Here's the life of a RAM. That's a very limited way of developing people. What we're doing is looking at the T-Mobile competencies and building programs out to those. And what that does for the individual is it creates a program that hopefully will support their career growth maybe through more than one job title or more than one whatever. But even if they find their career takes them into other companies, we believe that this program can help to support them there too. We don't want you to go. Don't go.
Don't go.
But the series of programs that we're building are so much more than just here's how to be an RSM at T-Mobile. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, that is awesome. And not only am I getting some new skills, learning along the way, but I've also got this whole career growth, also along the way too. So kind of the best of both worlds. I said this to Liz last week. What do we need to do though to make sure that leaders take advantage of this stuff, man? Because the retail world is, hey, I'm too busy, or whatever, but they forget about their own career,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that happens so much, right? And it's valid, right? Your job, especially, I think about our mobile experts a lot. As somebody who was one, I can still sometimes wear that hat on this partially balding head. And I think about our mobile experts often, and I think about the fact that there's this direct line that you make between your customers and your paycheck. And of course you do. You're a commissioned sales rep. And it becomes really difficult then to be able to say, I need to take a step back and do something that can invest in the next level. And seeing sort of the forest for the trees can be really tough. I love that at the beginning of this call, you say, take 15 minutes for you, just 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Granted, we're going to go longer than 15. My goal is to make this the longest podcast you've ever done. But just taking some time for your own personal development it's really important. And the best way to take advantage of that, especially when we're talking about lead specifically, you kind of mentioned, like, what can I do if I'm a leader? I'm interested in lead. Tell me more about lead. Talk to your leader. Let them know you're interested. That is the most important first step, is having a conversation with your leader to say, I've heard about these LEAD top talent programs. I want you to know I'm interested and looking to throw my hat in the ring if it's possible. And more communication, I don't know when this is posting, but more communication is coming around specifics on how to do that, like where you'll go to apply, how you'll be selected. More to come on that. Or if you're hearing this in the future, you already know that, so I don't need to repeat it. But more communication to come on how to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask. So a lot more coming. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to really get my hands on it and really dig in and talk about it more on these podcasts. And we're going to definitely have you back too. But I can't let you go without asking you a few more questions, because
bring it.
Yeah, I mean, it's seeing from so many different levels, right? From starting as a mobile expert, mobile associate, and then moving into where you did in training, and now being behind the scenes there at the headquarters. So you've got a very unique point of view. What would be 2 or 3 things that you would advise leaders going into 2021?
I appreciate the diplomatic way of saying I have a unique point of view. First of all, boy, do I. A couple things I think are really important for leaders. I'll give you kind of I'll give you some squishy stuff, and then I got a couple of tactical things I can give you too.
Sure.
One thing that really changed my career and helped me think about my career differently is the concept of a personal brand. And I think everybody should take some time, maybe one of those 15-minute chunks, and think about your own personal brand. It was an activity that I did when I was a mobile expert, and I look at it every year and think about my personal brand every year, and it hasn't changed since I was a mobile expert. It's been the same. That's a good brand right there.
Yeah.
But I believe that if you don't spend the time to create and cultivate your own personal brand, other people are creating your brand for you. And don't let them do that. Don't put it in the hands of the judges, man. So create your personal brand. And then as a leader, make sure that you can cascade that brand to your team. What's the brand of your team? How do you create a personal brand for your team? It all starts with you. And then the flip of that is, as a leader, don't forget that your success, the only metric that matters for you is your people's success. And those are platitudes, and it's easy to say, but you got to really know it and mean it.
Yeah.
Your success is your team's success, and your job is to lift your team up, to remove obstacles, and make sure that they're successful. So those are the squishy ones. Those are my 2 squishy things.
Oh, well, I can't let that one go, man. Don't let someone else create your own brand for you. Leaders, oh my gosh, that is gold, man. I mean, and how many times do we allow that to happen? And then once we have that kind of reputation, how hard is it for it to go away, right? And that's because we've allowed folks to kind of brand us or put us into a corner or put a label on us, as opposed to, no, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is, my brand. And man, that's gold, man. Thank you so much for that. All right. So that's the squishy stuff.
That's the squishy.
But wait, there's more. So I'm anxious to hear the rest.
So here's what, and this is a Patrick endorsement. This is by no means an endorsement from an organizational level or anything like that. I feel like I got to caveat that. There is change management. I think Liz talked a little bit about change management last week. I'm going to go deeper with it. If I was looking at 2021 and I was like, what's one thing I could do to improve myself, my team, I would look at change management. And I would specifically look at, and again, it's Patrick, there's a model called ADKAR.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
It's from a company called ProSci. I do not get paid by them. This is not like today's podcast is brought to you by ProSci. Just put Yak with Mac in for 20% off. That's not what we're doing here. But I went through a training with this company, and it's amazing. And the ad car model, tactically, there's nothing better for helping to assess your team, coach your team, either proactively or reactively, through change. And surprise, spoiler alert, it's all change. All we do is change. Big change, small change, medium-sized change. AdCar, tactically, is the thing that's changed my career more than maybe any other tactic that I've ever learned. I use it with my director. I use it when I'm talking to my team. It is shorthand for everything we do. I cannot recommend it enough. Leaders, AdCar, ADKAR. Google it, Bing it, ask Jeeves. I don't know what you use, but I think that is that's huge.
And I totally agree with you. I went through the same thing, and it really helps you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that is so important. So we'll put that in the notes because AdCar, that's fantastic. That's fantastic advice. Man, I don't want us to end. I just want us to keep
Let's
talking.
not let it end. Let's keep.
Yeah,
How long? Wait, I gotta ask a question, Mac. How long? Well, hey, what's our time? What time are we at right now?
I have no idea because I don't see it, but that's
Okay.
fine. We're probably in about 15 minutes. We're good.
Okay. Oh, wait, we're not good. Listen, I'm competitive in weird ways, and I know Liz went 16 minutes 52 seconds there around. So if you want to do a lightning round, if you got more questions for me, let's go. I want to beat her. Or if you got somewhere else to be, that's fine too.
So, well, I'll say this. I was surprised you didn't give this advice because it's so apparent, and this is contagious, right? You love to have fun. I mean, you can make some of the most, I'm not offending anybody, but some of the most boring conference calls, you can make them so much fun. When you start to speak, man, everybody jumps in and listens. What about leaders having fun today? I mean, what advice would you give them for that? Because I think that has to be intentional, especially going forward and after the year that we've had, right? But you do that, it just comes natural to you.
I appreciate that. That goes. So I can give you two things about that actually. One, when I was a mobile expert and I was first thinking about I want to kind of move up a little bit, there was this gentleman who I worked with, and he was actually going through like a top talent program, and I was like, can I just latch on and can you teach me the things that they teach you? You know, do the whole like dub a tape version of leadership development. And that only lasted for about a week because one day we were walking out to our cars after the store closed, and he goes, Patrick, I think you could be really, really good, but here's the thing: you need to start taking things seriously. This isn't a game, and that sat with me.
Wow!
Because the inference of that, of like not allowing yourself to have joy in what you do. I spend way too much time here to sit here dragging my heels all day. I love what I do, and I don't want to have to hide that or pretend that's not the case. So that always stuck with me. The other thing is, this goes back to my personal brand, which I'm willing to share because it speaks to what you just said. The personal brand that I made up way, way, way long ago was it's 4 words: passion with a purpose.
Love it.
And that's my brand. That's what I want people to think of when they see me. So when you think about the energy that I bring, it is intentional. And different audiences are going to get different parts of that. If I'm talking to directors, I'm maybe not so out of my mind. But I want people, no matter who I'm interacting with, to understand that like I have passion for what I do, and that shows. But it's always purposeful. I can always also back it up with the words. If you're just being fun to be a funny guy or being fun to be a funny gal, and that's very hollow and one-dimensional. But if you have passion with a purpose, that's unstoppable to me.
No doubt. And I love how you said that you back all that up. Anybody could just be funny to be funny, but I think 5 minutes into the first call I was on with you, you were funny, but yet you were saying some powerful things. I think it was an RTSM call. I think I was on with you first time. That I was like, man, this guy's got something, man, and I want to keep listening, and you have to have that, but you've got to have that fun, passion with a purpose. So we can start to end there because I'm sure we're
Yeah.
past Liz. But yeah,
Nailed it.
yeah,
Take that, Tarapokia. The feud is on.
um, but passion with a purpose, I think, Patrick, sometimes people think when you say, hey, you should build your brand, and there's so many great tools to help you do that, they think it has to be this long, big, drawn out thing. Yours is four powerful words, passion with a purpose.
Yep.
And that I think we could see that, from you. I mean, there's no doubt
Thank you.
about it. Yeah, yeah. Listen, man, this is a lot of fun. I knew it would be. But as I just said, man, so much substance, so much great stuff. So we'll make sure everything you said, that we'll capture the notes on everything you said. We'll put that in, the kind of transcript we put to the side. But I want to ask, after the L.E.A.D program does launch and you have a couple of months in, you can come back anytime, but would you come back at that time to maybe you'll have some statistics or some incremental data? I'm sure you talk to leaders all the time. Would love to hear the impact that it's having and what would be some next steps for leaders. Would make that commitment?
I will, again, this board back here, you ask and I'll show, like, I think here's what we do. And listen, I don't want to take over. I'm not trying to grab the reins here at the end of this show. But what if every year we did like a special Yak with Mac and Mac? And it was like an annual thing where it's a special episode where we just let the rails fall off this thing, just for fun. We do a Yak with Mac and Mac once a year. Listen, patent pending, trademark, but like I think it's a solid gold idea.
I love it. I love it, man. We got to do it more than once a year. But I like the year idea. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. It doesn't matter. Well, folks, we're gonna leave it there. And it's been a phenomenal year. This is probably going to be the first one that you see in 2021. And
we made it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hope you're inspired. We hope you're encouraged. Because if you're not, you don't have a pulse. You don't have a pulse. After listening to this man, you don't have a pulse. There you go. So we are going to wrap up for now. This is Kenny with the one and only Patrick McDaniels. And this is the Yak with Mac and Mac. We will talk to you real soon. Patrick, thank you, brother.
Thanks, Mac.
Okay.